When Lexus arrived in South Africa a few years back, they knew they were in for a fight, going up against the likes of BMW and Mercedes-Benz. Since then, they've gained a foothold in the market, and the Lexus badge isn't exactly an uncommon sight on our roads. But the battle is far from over. And now, with the LS460, they're not only going up against a market leader, they're taking on an icon. This is Lexus's idea of the luxury saloon, which is the same kind of car as the Mercedes-Benz S-Class, the car favoured by politicians, royalty, and those who like to take any opportunity to say the S-Class was the first car to have such and such a technology. Given its competition and the kind of thing it needs to deliver on, the LS can't afford to come up short in any respect. And it doesn't, physically speaking. At just under 5.1 meters long, it's not a small car, but it relies on its front end to make most of its impact, thanks to the not-so-subtle grille. The rest of the package is fairly generic, and the overall impression is somewhat less stately than its competition. But maybe that's because it doesn't quite have the same standing as the S-Class or the 7 Series, which will happen over time, assuming a lot of the right kinds of people buy this car and turn it into a thing of status. Objectively, there's nothing wrong with the look of the LS. It's large but with good proportions, it features the necessary up-to-date bits like LED running lights, and if anything, it has a different flavour to the Europeans. In here, they haven't deviated too far from the luxury theme. You get the best of everything, some of the highlights being ventilated seats, a 15-centimeter screen, and high-end sound done by a guy called Mark. It is supremely comfortable thanks to some of the best seats on the market, and there is proper refinement. There is also a lot in the detail of this interior that makes it so good, things like the way the temperature display clicks over and the minimalist design of the center console. Unfortunately, there are other details that let it down, like the cruise control switch out of a Toyota Yaris, which is about the most generic car part on the planet. One of the tech highlights in here is the driver monitoring system, which keeps an eye on, well, your eyes, to make sure you're not nodding off behind the wheel. If it thinks you are, it sounds an alarm, signaling that it's time for you to pull over for a cup of Kopi Luwak. There is another sound besides the sleep alarm and the Mark Levinson audio system, and that's the low rumble from the big V8 up front. The Lexus engineers haven't tried to isolate it with tons of sound deadening. Instead, they've made it part of the drive, and it really does add to the sense of occasion, especially when you get going. You'd expect that the sheer size of this car makes it less than enthusiastic off the line, despite its 285 kilowatts and 493 newton meters, and you'd be right. But make no mistake, once it's over the inertia of its 2 tons, this saloon gets up to decent speeds and manages to feel effortless all the way through its 8-speed gearbox. I was going to say sporty, but that's not quite right. It does have selectable drive modes that govern things like throttle input and suspension settings, and the programs include everything from Eco to Sport Plus. But even in that sharpest mode, it never feels like anything but a big car, albeit a very big car with very good grip. The kind of grip that makes you smile as you're going through tight corners at the kinds of pace that would have smaller cars complaining. And yet, like it is in everyday mode, the LS feels very well sorted when you're having a bit of fun. Cars like this aren't all about the driver though. I'm not one of those people who's going to spend 1.2 million rand on a car and then let someone else drive. But I do understand there are people in this world who need to be driven. And if you're one of those people, you need to know about the back. In here, you get pretty much the same as you do in the front. Adjustable ventilated and heated seats, command central, and a DVD system with remote control. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some viewing to catch up on. Headphones are, of course, not entirely necessary. You could hijack the sound system for yourself. Lexus are very proud of the fact that the LS460 has no options list. Everything you see here is included in the price, which is good from a value point of view, but it also means that even if you don't want a DVD player in the back, you're going to pay 1,236,700 rand and get it anyway. On paper, the Lexus LS460 lacks nothing. It's got its own style, it's a great drive, it's got top-class materials, comfort and spec, and as much technology as you like. The only thing it doesn't have is something they can't fit at the factory, and that's the perception that it can compete against the very best. But it doesn't take too long behind the wheel of this car to realize it is a top contender. Once the V8 gets going, it is an impressive motor, and the Lexus engineers have made sure you can still hear it inside the cabin. The LS460 boasts the best of everything, and all its luxuries are included in the price. That lack of choice in customers' ability to spec the car to their taste, though, may be its shortcoming.